welcome back to my channel. It's Andrea, and today I'm doing the Single Eyeshadow Lovers tag. This tag was created by MakeupByAnnki, and I was tagged by Lisa from Banning, Panning, and Beyond. And I know Lisa did her video a while ago, and I just haven't had a chance to sit down and film, but today I have some extra time, so that's what I'm doing today. If I look down a little bit, I have my laptop open to the questions so that I didn't have to write them down because I'm lazy. So the first question is, when did you fall in love with single shadows? And that is easy. That would be this year. Towards, I think really what started it was the Sydney Grace Christmas in July sale, which I actually did an unboxing of, which I'll link up in the cards. But that was like my first big, the one that I can remember anyway, my first big indie singles purchase. And it's just, depending on how you look at it, it's been downhill or uphill from there. Like, I've got a bit of a problem with wanting to own all of the indie single eyeshadows. So as you've probably noticed from some of my more recent videos where I am swatching lots of eyeshadows that I got. Number 2, what is the oldest brand of single shadows in your collection? I am not pretty sure. I'm sure that the oldest single eyeshadows I have in my collection are from Ulta Beauty, which I believe I talked about them in another video that I'll link up in the cards. It was a video I did a couple months ago about my throwback Ulta order, and it was my first order of single shadows from Ulta back when I was first starting to get into makeup. So I still do have those. They're not terrible. They're not the best, but. Question number 3 is, what are your go-to single shadows? I really don't have a go-to, mainly because of my Pan Those Eyeshadows project and all my other projects where I'm putting eyeshadows in. I tend to kind of get like hyper focused on shadows that are in my projects, so I don't really stray outside of that in my collection when I'm working on things, which I'm trying to be better about because I brought in so many new eyeshadows this year that there's a lot of unused stuff in my collection right now. Let's just put it that way. But if I had to say go to, like the ones that I've used the most, I mean, just because they're the oldest, it would probably be my Ulta singles, but I do have a lot of ColourPop pressed shadows and the Super Shocks. So those are probably the 2 brands of singles that I've used the most. Number 4, do you have a more colorful or neutral brown collection? Well, I mean, if you watch my channel, you know the answer to this, but this isn't even all of my singles, but these are just the ones that I have organized so far. I have 3 of these Book of Shades from Colored Rain. So these are like my neutral mattes. And then pretty much, this is all my yellows, my oranges, pinks, pinky purples, more the cooler purples, my blues, and my greens. So I think it's pretty obvious that I have way more colorful shadows than neutral shadows in my collection. Number 5, favorite matte formula. I really enjoy the Sydney Grace mattes, and because of the way I have my singles organized. Although actually, this is the Sydney Grace Autumn's Rain palette. It did come in either a palette or you could buy the bundle of singles, and because the palette, it's like the actual palette was out of stock for a long time, and I really wanted it. I didn't know when the palette was going to come back, so I just bought the bundle of singles. But this has such a soft, like creamy formula, and it's just, Sydney Grace has some of the best matte. I mean, these swatches are terrible, but I really enjoy the matte formula from Sydney Grace. Favorite metallic formula, it has to be my Colored Rain. Where? I don't have to find it. I said the same thing in my eyeshadow palette lovers tag, so I'm not gonna count it as cheating, but for my favorite metallic formula for palettes, it was Colored Rain because of the Safari Rain metallics. But there are other metallics, I don't know if they like changed the formula, but like this is the shade Downtown, and it's the same, like extremely smooth, creamy. It's just, it's basically, it feels like you're putting your finger in liquid and just like smoothing a liquid shadow over your, well, over my arm, because I swatched it on my arm obviously, but it feels like a cream to powder almost. I don't know. It is, and it's so intense, and I love their metallic formula. I can't really speak too much about anything other than the shades in Safari Rain and Queen of Hearts and the few singles I have, because those are the only palettes I have, and I don't know if they're completely sold out yet, but they are discontinuing their singles, so you can't get them anymore. But for the single shadows that I do have from Colored Rain, those are definitely my favorites. 7, favorite duo and multi-chrome formula. So I've just recently started getting into duochromes and multi-chromes, but this is another gigantic palette that I have. This is ridiculous. I would have to say these Aurora Flare shades from Divina Cosmetics are some of the best multi-chromes that I've tried. I'm just gonna give a little swatch of just one. Let's see. I'll do this one called Polaris. See if I can. Like, it is so smooth, and it has a really strong shift. Like, even, well, let me get a little bit more on my finger, but sometimes I feel like with the duochromes and multi-chromes, it can be really hard for the camera to capture the shifts, but I feel like with this one, they're just so easy. And I'll actually, when I first got my Aurora Flare shadows, I did make a post for Instagram where I swatched them all, and I'll put the picture over here because it's a lot easier to see the shifts, because like right now the lighting isn't the greatest, and trying to move, you can kind of see it there a little bit better, but trying to move your arm and contort your arm so the camera can catch it is a little difficult sometimes. But these so far are my favorite multi-chromes that I've gotten in the past couple months. I do have an order from Cleona coming that I'm getting for Christmas, but at the same time, like, a lot of the shades are very similar. I mean, I'm sure they all use like the same pigments and stuff, so I can't imagine that it's going to be too different, but as far as formula and texture wise, Divina is definitely my favorite right now. Number 8, what brand or brands are on your Single Shadows wish list? I would really like to try Glaminatrix. I've seen a ton of swatches, mainly from Jacqueline Frosty. I'll put her name down and I'll link her down below on Instagram. She has a big Glaminatrix collection and she swatches them a lot. Lethal Cosmetics, I want to try, but because they're based in Europe, the shipping is kind of, and I know my Australian friend will understand when I say the shipping is putting me off a little bit, because that's like, you have to buy a lot to make it worth it, and I don't want to buy that much. But I think those are the two big ones that I can think off the top of my head, because I have made a ton of singles purchases in the past few months, so I've actually knocked quite a few brands off of my I would like to try list. Number 9, do you have any single shadow regrets? I really don't think so. I mean, I guess my only regret is I have so many single shadows that I have so many that I haven't tried yet, but I absolutely, like, just looking, when I just open up one of my palettes and I just look at them, I'm just like, oh, they're all so pretty, and I want to put them all on my eyes all at once, which sadly cannot do because I have way too many and it would not look good. But I can't think of any that I have where I'm like, I really wish I hadn't made that order, or I really don't like the quality of these and I wish that I hadn't wasted my money, or anything like that. Like, I am happy with everything that I have in my collection. And number 10, if you could only buy single shadows from one brand for the rest of your life, who would it be? That is hard. I don't know. There's too many brands. I would probably only one brand for the rest of my life. I feel like I'm choosing between my children here. I would probably say, and this is totally a like this moment answer, because I'm sure once I've tried more from other brands, maybe I would change my mind, but for right now, I would probably say Sydney Grace, because like I said, they have a really good matte formula. I do like their shimmer slash metallics. They have a lot of colors. They have palettes. They have a couple multi-chromes. They have liquid shadows, which I do have one of their like newer, I don't know if it's newer or just repackaged, but they're like multi-chrome liquid shadow, which is really nice. So that's my answer for this particular moment in time, is Sydney Grace. Subject to change depending on what I end up trying from other brands and just using other brands more, because like I used my Terra Moons Cosmetics shadows for the first time yesterday, and I absolutely loved the way that my look turned out, but would I say that's the only brand I ever want to buy from again? Because I've only used their shadows one time. It's a little iffy. So Sydney Grace, final answer, but that doesn't mean that all the other brands that I have aren't good as well. So that was the Single Eyeshadow Lovers tag. I'm not going to tag any specific people because I'm really not sure who has an extensive singles shadow collection besides Lisa, and she obviously tagged me, so I can't tag her back. But if you do want to do this tag video, let me know, because I always, especially if you have some brands that I haven't tried yet, and maybe I can add them to my list, even though I really need to stop buying things, but for the future, you know. So that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're staying safe and sane and healthy, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.